Welcome to your Newsmax Daily for Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. It's the 42nd Tuesday of the year and National Reptile Awareness Day. If you live in a place where reptiles roam freely like I do, you better be aware of them. I'll tell you that. It's also National Apple Day and Day 21 of the government shutdown.
All we want to do is have a vote of continuation. And it's the first time in history that a group has not voted for continuation, so they have what's called a Trump derangement problem.
President Trump, as the Senate failed to pass the Republicans' continuing resolution for an 11th time last night. This is Chuck Schumer.
It's been over a month since the House of Representatives even took a single roll call vote. That's shameful. That's derelict. Government workers must work without getting paid. House Republicans get paid without working.
It's funny that Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, would say that about the House because Hakeem Jeffries, the top Democrat in the House, would not commit yesterday to foregoing his salary during the government shutdown, although many others in the House have publicly pledged to decline their pay in solidarity with many federal workers who are now not getting paid. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Jeffries defended his stance by suggesting that the shutdown is likely to be resolved before the next monthly paycheck. Congressman Jeffries and Senator Schumer are both Democrats from New York, as you may know, and both are supporting the self-proclaimed socialist who identifies as Muslim and as Asian, Democrat Zohran Mamdani, running for the mayor of New York City and leading in the polls against disgraced former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, who's running as an independent after losing the primary to Mamdani, and Republican Curtis Sliwa. We get more from Rob Schmitt in New York.
All right, so here in New York, we are 2 weeks until this election. Everybody is totally freaked out by this 34-year-old, totally unaccomplished communist who wants to run the most important city in the world. Zohran Mamdani's been on his best behavior recently. He's saying everything right, trying to just calm nerves so he can sneak into office and into power and unleash whatever form of Muslim Marxist hell he can think of on the world's beacon to capitalist freedom. He had a big slip-up, though, posting online with an unindicted alleged 1993 World Trade Center co-conspirator, Imam Siraj Wahhaj, on the right in this image, photographed smiling with him arm in arm, and that's just the reality. that's a terrorist sympathizer and an unindicted co-conspirator in a World Trade Center bombing back in 1993, and just all love. You've got New York billionaires like Bill Ackman and John Catsimatidis throwing their support behind Andrew Cuomo at this point. It's seen as the Hail Mary, right? They don't like Cuomo, but he's the only chance at stopping Zohran. The New York Post agrees. The editorial board saying today, swallow the bitter pill, get out. There is no way that you can win to Curtis Sliwa. Rudy Giuliani disagrees, though, telling Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, to stay in the race. Here's Sliwa's response to those like Bill Ackman saying he needs to get out.
Ackman is a jerk. Has he been right yet? Here's a guy who goes up to Newport, Rhode Island and thinks he's a professional tennis player. Come on, Ackman, stay in your lane. If somehow I lose, and we know Andrew Cuomo's lost, he's already tossed in the town. Oh, it's because of you, Curtis. Really? It's because of the Democrats.
All right, so the Ackmans of the world are afraid that Sliwa is taking the vote away from Cuomo, which is what all the polls indicate. A new one from City AARP in Gotham showing that if Sliwa drops out, the Republican drops out, you got 44-40 Mamdani versus Cuomo. It gets really close. But as it remains right now tonight, Mamdani gets 43%, Cuomo falls to 28%, and Sliwa at 19 points.
Okay, so that sort of sets the whole stage for you. And I know there are people that don't really care about what's happening in New York, right? But it is the biggest city in America. As Rob said, one of the most important cities in the entire world, the center of the financial world and the media industry, among many other things. After that intro, Rob spoke with Curtis Sliwa and did such an amazing job on this interview, as did Curtis. This was so good, I had to play it for you.
Curtis Sliwa joins us now, and it's good to have you back on the show, sir. I want to start by saying I'm a fan of yours. I like your politics. I like you. But I also have to live in this damn city. And as much as I do respect your politics, It does feel like right now in a three-way race that we're just walking right into a tornado 2 weeks away.
Well, Rob, it's the Democrats who created that. They made Zoran Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo lost to him decisively in the primary, and now you're thinking that Andrew Cuomo can be the savior. I'm sorry. I am the Republican candidate. I had 30,000 people who signed up to qualify me to be the second major party candidate. And I am the law and order candidate, of which Andrew Cuomo is the architect.
But what?
And Zoran Mamdani is the apprentice to no cash bail, raise the age, turn criminals loose from Rikers Island. So again, I am the legitimate Republican Party candidate. Major party candidates don't drop out for independents who are losers to begin with.
Founder of the Guardian Angels, veteran New York City radio host, and Republican New York mayoral candidate Curtis Sliwa on Rob Schmitt tonight. I loved when Rob said, look, I like you, but most people in the city don't like you. Younger progressive Democrats and other people don't like him for sure. But having grown up in New York, I think there are some centrists, some moderate liberals who will vote for him because the options are so bad, right? Democrats do not like send the COVID to the nursing homes Cuomo anymore either. I said months ago that Sliwa is really the only option. There is no one, I tell you, even Andrew Cuomo, who knows the city of New York, all of the boroughs inside and out like Curtis Sliwa. And I said there are people that don't like him from things that happened years ago, but there's way too much at stake. And the other thing is, Republicans need to get out and vote. That's going to be key as well. Saying you would vote for Curtis and getting out and voting for him are two different things. I think Rob mentioned it, but they have a debate tonight, Wednesday night, which should be awesome. Rob also mentioned billionaire John Catsimatidis pushing for Sliwa to get out of the race. What's really funny, not ha-ha funny, but funny, Catsimatidis is Sliwa's boss. He owns WABC Radio in New York, where Sliwa has worked for more than 30 years. The station, by the way, where I started out as a flunky, answering phones and bulking carts. And unless you're in radio, you probably don't know what that means. Rob also spoke with Benny Johnson, host of The Benny Johnson Show, on social media about the No Kings protests, and I'm picking up the conversation with them talking about the fact that so many of the people that turned out for the protests were senior citizens.
My theory is this, Rob, which is that nursing homes, which are filled with people who romanticize the 1960s and 70s and the Marxist revolutions of those days, they need something to do for activity hour. And they've got to have something safe and free. And so they can just wheel out their residents, hand them a sign directly out of a George Soros van, and those residents can go and march for a little while or walk in their walkers or roll in their wheelchairs or their rascals. And that is why you see predominantly no young people at these protests. But one other thing that you don't see, and the reason why you don't see young people, is that young people want something to look forward to. They want something to be encouraged by. They want a future that they can look to. And that's nothing that the Democrat Party is providing. They're providing the same old communist playbook that they provided in the 60s and 70s.
Some horrible people at these rallies, too. And you're right. I noticed how old it was. There were a few younger people, and we saw one protester seemingly mock the assassination of Charlie Kirk in a video. It appears she's a school teacher in Chicago. The video right here. I mean, just what an awful person. And in every definition of the word awful, you could say right now that that's one of them. Others outright threatening the lives of cabinet members. Take a listen to this.
Who are you going to kill?
Nazis.
Who do you define as a Nazi?
What do you mean? It's pretty...
In this context, who's a Nazi?
Stephen Miller's a Nazi.
So you're going to kill Stephen Miller?
If I had the chance, yeah, I would.
I don't know if that's something I'd say on camera, bro.
Interesting crowd, right?
Good question for you, Rob, which is, this is, by the way, something that was repeated by Stephen Miller, something that was repeated by Robert De Niro on MSNBC this weekend, is that Stephen Miller, Jewish Stephen Miller, with his Jewish family and beautiful Jewish children, that he's a Nazi somehow. Is that anti-Semitic? I don't understand it. Somebody's going to have to explain that to me. That individual says they want to kill Stephen Miller because he's a Nazi. Somebody's going to have to explain. Somebody please make it make sense. But it purely is just visceral hate. These are the people who are educating our children. These are the people who are marching in the streets. This woman is reenacting Charlie Kirk's murder. She's a teacher at a K-8 school in Chicago. Again, there's no way to explain this other than good versus evil, darkness versus light, godliness versus godlessness.
Benny Johnson on Newsmax. You've likely seen the slob that they're talking about, right? All over social media now, reenacting Charlie Kirk's death. The person who took that video identified the woman as Lucy Martinez, a Chicago area teacher. It's sick and frightening, and even worse, that she's a teacher. That makes it way more frightening. This is Carl Higbie with commentary on the weekend protests.
People are out there calling for violence, claiming to stand up for America, holding protests, screaming "No Kings" is so biblically laughable because the simple fact that you're out there protesting, free as a bird to do so, means that Trump is not, in fact, a king. But they clutch their pearls when a Republican dares insult somebody or uses a bad word. They're the party that anointed Kamala Harris with no primary as their candidate, circumventing every Democratic norm throughout the history of this country. This is the party that wanted to throw people in jail for not being vaccinated, arrested people paddleboarding alone in the ocean during COVID because they didn't have a mask on. These people that ban speech. They want gun control. They want God out of our schools and drag queens in them. They want to control your kids, control your health care, control your bank account. The same people who want to take away my gas stove, my V8 engine, and the cheeseburger out of my mouth because I think cow farts are destroying the ozone somehow. But just a few years ago, here, CNN writing this, quote, "What's clear is that the liberals speaking out don't want a president. They want a king, albeit a liberal king, but still a king who would be unrestrained by Congress as well as the checks and balances enshrined in our Constitution." Hey, isn't that what they're out there protesting now? Liberals don't want no kings. They want their kings. Their protests are as ridiculous as the policies they support. That a democratically elected president and Donald Trump winning 77 million in the popular vote, an electoral college landslide, is somehow a dictator? I thought they were the party screaming for democracy. That's what they got, and it gave us Trump. This was a bunch of furries, liberal geriatrics, and paid ignoramuses screaming at the sky. Calling someone who has won nearly every court case once it gets away from the activist judges like we just saw with the Ninth Circuit and into a real court. You better pace yourself, libs. You're going to wear yourself out. You're on day like 280 something. And you have, I think, like 1,200 more days of Trump. And then likely Vance as your next candidate, if anything goes the way you've been kind of breeding your next Democrat Party line now.
Carl Higbie, host of Frontline, 6 o'clock Eastern. Speaking of court cases, a federal appeals court on Monday said that it would allow President Trump to deploy the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, blocking a judge's previous ruling that prevented the administration from sending in troops, even though federal property is being damaged and threatened. Last night, protesters, or Antifa rioters, threw explosive devices and tear gas at DHS agents that were clearing the crowd from out in front of the Portland ICE facility, which is partially boarded up now. This is the genius governor of Oregon, Tina Kotek.
I still urge the Trump administration to send all the National Guard members home, both the Oregon National Guard and the California National Guard.
Maybe she should go visit downtown Portland like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. There are many independent journalists, some of whom you've seen and heard on Newsmax and on this podcast, documenting the violence that's happening there. In Chicago, a judge is trying to rule against agents using pepper spray on crowds. This is constitutional law professor, the great Alan Dershowitz, on Newsmax with Bianca De La Garza.
Professor Dershowitz, such a pleasure to have you. Listen, you just heard Gregory Bavino said it's a split second. You've got a car, you've got a person. Sometimes these people are armed. We saw in Dallas a sniper on the roof. Isn't this judicial overreach to now to try to litigate pepper spray? Aren't these agents seasoned enough to know when they need an angry mob to be calmed down?
Well, even Justice Ginsburg, who was very liberal, said many judges confuse their role with having a kind of roving mandate to do justice and do what they want to do. Obviously, it's not the role of a judge to say whether or not agents have to have cameras on them or when they can use a spray. That's a legislative determination. It's an administrative determination. You know, it may be a good idea for police officers of all kinds to have cameras. I think that's a helpful matter. If I were the police commissioner, I think I would, after hearing all the arguments and all the sides, I would probably say, keep your cameras on. And whenever you're moving, the camera should automatically go on so you don't have to turn it on or turn it off. As far as pepper spray is concerned, it's not particularly harmful. It's a measure that has to be decided at the spur of the moment. So let judges remain judges and stop being legislatures. Article 3 of the Constitution gives judges the power to decide specific cases and controversies, not to try to do justice as they see it. So I think I agree with you completely that this is judicial overreaching and it has to be stopped. And I think it will be stopped when the case gets to the Supreme Court.
All right, duly noted. Let's move on to a couple other topics that we want to ask you about. Today, former FBI Chief James Comey's lawyers will file their first substantive motion in the case. They want it to be dismissed. We've heard this before, even before he was indicted. Selective vindictive prosecution. They're also going to try and go after Lindsay Halligan, saying she was not lawfully installed as the interim U.S. attorney of Eastern District of Virginia. But in an interesting back and forth, the DOJ is now saying they think Comey's lead defense attorney, a man by the name of Patrick Fitzgerald, needs to be booted because he had some involvement in Comey's disclosures to the media when Comey was fired in 2017. Legally, what do you think happens with Fitzgerald and then also Comey's defense methods here, Professor Dershowitz?
I think there is a real problem with a lawyer who could potentially be a witness being a lawyer as well. So I suspect we won't actually. The Comey case raises a very interesting issue. I don't know whether he's guilty or innocent ultimately, but I do know that if he were not somebody who was on the radar, he'd probably not be prosecuted for this. So the real question the judge is going to have to decide is, let's assume two things are true. One, there's enough evidence to go to the jury that if it was an ordinary person, the case would go to the jury. It wouldn't be dismissed. But also that the judge concludes that if he were not James Comey, he would not have been prosecuted for this crime because other people are not prosecuted for it. It brings us back, of course, to how Comey became the most hated man in America when he, on the eve of the 2016 election, said essentially that Hillary Clinton committed crimes, but that she shouldn't be prosecuted. Nobody else is prosecuted for it. So that kind of be the defense he's going to raise, ironically, in court. And usually those defenses don't work as a matter of law.
Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz on Newsmax with Bianca de la Garza. You can catch Newsline with Bianca at noon Eastern. Comey's attorneys, as Bianca said, calling for the case to be dismissed on the grounds of vindictive and selective prosecution. Yesterday, as expected, President Trump made a minerals deal with Australia's Prime Minister at the White House.
We work together very much on rare earths, critical minerals, and lots of other things. And we've had a very good relationship. We've been working on that for quite a while. In about a year from now, we'll have so much critical mineral and rare earths that you won't know what to do with them. They'll be worth about $2.
China, or China, as Trump would say, is the world's largest producer of minerals. And right now, the rare earth minerals is a big part of the trade tensions between China and Trump. And those trade tensions are apparently weighing on the stock markets again today. After a huge rally yesterday, the markets started the day flat to negative this morning. General Motors shares are trading sharply higher, though, after posting better than expected earnings and raising its full-year guidance, even with the tariffs. And this afternoon, after the closing bell, earnings from Netflix, which a lot of people will be paying attention to. You may be watching some scary movies on Netflix for the Halloween season, but October is also Cybersecurity Awareness Month, as I've been telling you, because cyber criminals are scarier than Halloween. That's why our new friends at Webroot are offering Newsmax Daily listeners a huge discount on their Webroot Total Protection Package. And this is just something you have to have, and they're giving you an awesome deal on it. From those text scams to phishing emails to cyber attacks, it's like every day the criminals are trying to trick us in a different way, right? But Webroot, they have a treat for you, including lightning-fast antivirus protection, identity theft protection with dark web monitoring, secure VPN, and unlimited cloud backup. Webroot Total Protection offers up to $1 million in fraud expense reimbursement. They have 24/7 U.S.-based customer service and new text scam detection. Get 60% off Webroot Total Protection right now at webroot.com/Newsmax. 60% off. Webroot.com/Newsmax. Do not wait. 60% off. Webroot.com/Newsmax. Do it now. Today, the president will be participating in a couple of different ceremonial events at the White House and then hosting a Rose Garden Club luncheon and a Rose Garden Club dinner. You'll also hear a lot about the construction now happening at the White House. Part of the East Wing was demolished yesterday to make way for the massive new ballroom that Trump has promised. And Vice President Vance is now in Israel, where he'll help shore up the ceasefire, which was put to the test over the weekend. We'll have updates throughout the day on Newsmax from our Middle East correspondent Jody Cohen and others. And in sports, this year's World Series is now set. It'll feature the defending champion LA Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays, who beat Seattle in Game 7 of the ALCS last night. Unless they play the Toronto games in the afternoon, the temperature will be in the low 50s to the upper 40s at night in Toronto next week. First game is coming up on Friday night. Toronto has not been to the World Series since 1993. Keep up with all of today's news and breaking developments. There'll be plenty of it with the Vice President in Israel. Keep it on Newsmax, N2, and NewsMax.com. Don't forget, the news starts each and every day, 6 a.m. Eastern with Alex Kramer on Wake Up America Early Edition, all the way through Finnerty, Greg Kelly Reports, and The Right Squad. I'm Tony Marino. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Don't forget, eat an apple and keep on fighting the good fight.
News breaks every minute, every day. You need the app, the Newsmax app. Find it free on your smartphone store. Then watch us anytime, anywhere.
Information. Truth. Is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.